Yo, what's good, YouTube? This is Jay from TNJ, and welcome to the off-season, coming off of maybe a disappointing season 1, but we had our ups and downs, starting with a couple of guys. Blake Cashman had a great season, and picking off Russell Wilson twice, along with Avery Williamson taking back 2 pick sixes in that game, was definitely a highlight of the season. We came up just short of a upset from the Kansas City Chiefs, who ended up with the best regular season record. But then we hit an all-time low, tying with the Miami Dolphins, who literally have the second pick in the upcoming NFL draft. But this offseason is all about building for the future, and honestly, we have to tear it down and build it back up. Now, we have some good pieces in place, so I'm not going to tear everything down. But first, let's just recap how this playoffs went. Now, the Tennessee Titans ended up defeating the Patriots in the wild card round, along with Baltimore beating Cleveland by 4 points. So Baltimore moves on, but they lose to the Chiefs once again, and Buffalo gets their revenge in the AFC, defeating the Tennessee Titans 35-25. Remember last year, the Titans beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. Now we move on to the AFC and NFC Championship. Wow, 2 blowouts. The Chiefs blow out the Buffalo Bills, and the San Francisco 49ers lose to Tom Brady. And in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes defeats Tom Brady once again in the playoffs. Now remember, Patrick Mahomes beat Tom Brady to go to the Super Bowl. And look at this. Patrick Mahomes wins his second straight Super Bowl. And man, he's on his way to becoming one of the legends in the NFL. Now let's hop into the offseason. You know, our team is interesting. We had a ton of expiring contracts, and honestly, some guys that weren't really contributing at all, like Jordan Willis. Nate Harrison didn't really contribute. Brandon Bryant contributed a little bit. But a lot of these guys we don't really need on the roster. So I want to build it the way that we want through the draft and getting rookies and all that good stuff. Now, one guy that does not get another contract is Avery Williamson. And the reason why that is because we do have CJ Mosley coming back this season. Because remember, he opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID-19. Now, Pierre Desir is another interesting guy. We're going to let him test free agency. And Terrell Basham was an interesting guy. He was actually 3rd on our team in sacks, but he was not in a starting role. So I'm going to try to bring him back on a friendly deal, and I will kind of offer him a contract in free agency and see what he thinks. But Frankie Louvu is the one guy I am going to re-sign, and he actually made an impression on me the last game, getting 2 sacks. I really admire that effort when you get the playing time to really come through. I'm looking forward to developing him and seeing what he's got. Now we head into free agency, and this is the year of the running back. The top 4 running backs are Kareem Hunt, Phillip Lindsay, along with Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones. I mean, that is just insane. That's an insane running back class. And the one thing about this is that this is going to happen in real life. A lot of these running backs are going to hit the free agent market, and if they don't re-sign, it's going to be a frenzy to get these guys. Now, this free agent class is interesting because it's very running back heavy, and a lot of the other positions aren't as deep. So we definitely have slim pickings here, and I think that, you know, going after guys that fit our system and going after them realistically. I'm not going to offer, you know, some outrageous contracts or anything like that. And I do have a rule so I don't take advantage of Madden, because there is ways to just sign whoever you want just by offering them multiple contracts. 1 offer per week. So if I put in an offer, I cannot put in another offer for another week. Now, Kelechi Esemele, I can't even sell it. Esemele, that's hilarious. He actually did depart from the Jets, and he definitely had a rough departure. So Esemele was going to be my top target, but I just did some research on it, and it just doesn't make sense realistically to bring him back, especially since he left on such a sour note. Now, one guy I do want to bring in is Alex Mack. He is the top offensive lineman pretty much in this class, and he's a center. We already have Connor McGovern, but if we can upgrade just for 1 year, I'm guessing that Alex Mack might retire after next year. We can do it. So we're going to offer him a 1-year, $10 million deal. Then we look at Bud Dupree. Now, he's a really interesting guy. He has a lot of suitors. He is one of the best free agents in this class, so by far. But I'm just going to kind of think about it and move on to cornerbacks, where we really have question marks. 3 of our top 4 cornerbacks hit the free agent market, including Brian Poole, including Pierre Desir, and also Quincy Wilson. So we will need to pretty much replace our entire secondary. And looking at Charvarius Ward here, he is a 4th-year cornerback out of Middle Tennessee State. But he does exactly what I wanted our corners to do last year. He's good in man, pretty good in zone, good play recognition. His tackling is obviously low, but he's a cornerback, so his tackling is going to be low. So we will offer him a 3-year, about $5 or $6 million a year, and see what he comes back with that. Now, the second guy I want to offer at cornerback is Levi Wallace. I like him a lot, and he is overshadowed by playing opposite of Tre'Davious White last year. And honestly, I think he's a very good cornerback. He's still in his prime, 26 years old, 4th year in the league. So we will offer him a 3-year, $18 million deal, and hopefully that will land well with him. Now, going into free agency, I really had a kind of a notion that I was going to go after receiver. But the last 4 games, Braxton Berrios really showed me what he can do. He can play inside, he can play outside, and I thought that I was going to have to spend some money and get a good receiver. But I don't think so anymore, because I think that Berrios will have an expanded role. So I don't think we'll go after anybody that hard in free agency, and I think it will focus on the draft. This is a wide receiver deep draft. Once we see this draft, it is going to be crazy. I think that this could be one of the deepest wide receiver drafts in this series altogether, and we'll see a ton of guys in the draft later in the episode. So I do look at a couple of guys. David Moore is interesting. Josh Reynolds is interesting, but I'm not willing to pay a receiver $20+ million right now. I just don't think that's in the cards. So I do decide to go after a cheaper option here, and Taywan Taylor has been a guy around the league that's just been kind of a backup, but he's a good depth guy. If we could just offer him a $1 million or a 1-year, $4 million deal, I think that's more than fair. So we will be his only offer at the moment. I decide to revisit Bud Dupree, and Bud Dupree is one of the best pass rushers in the league right now, number 9 as far as right outside linebackers go. But honestly, at $32 million, I think that I can draft a rookie in this draft and be just as good, especially with our pick this year at pick number 7. I'm looking for a pass rusher. So that means I kind of have to sign for depth, and I let Jordan Jenkins hit the free agent market, but I'm going to bring him back. He is a lifelong Jet. I think this just makes a lot of sense, especially for depth. He's 27 years old. Why not sign him through his prime? We sign him to a 2-year, about $9 million. So 5 contract offers in total, and we sign Mack. We sign Jenkins. We sign Ward. We sign Levi Wallace, and Taywan Taylor also accepts his contract. We get all 5 guys we go after, and that was only with 1 offer. We did not kind of bid against other players, against other teams. We just offered the first one, and they accepted it. So we do have some other holes to fill. I go ahead and sign Zane Gonzalez. I wanted a younger kicker. He's 25 years old, 96 kick power. And then I decide to go after a safety. Now, Will Parks is a very good developing safety. He's in his mid-20s. And honestly, I really like him. But then I look at HaHa Clinton Dix, and look who's going after him, the Miami Dolphins. They're building as well. So why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone, go after a guy that the Dolphins are going after, and then also get stronger? We do not have a strong safety on our roster. So I decide to offer him a 1-year, $8 million deal and just see what he's got on a 1-year deal. And it goes to 100 total points. But the Dolphins deal ended up being 104, and they end up signing him. So the Dolphins get stronger. They have the number 2 and number, I believe, 6 pick in the draft. So we move on to the end of free agency and looking at our at all the free agent signings. Avery Williamson goes over to the Cleveland Browns, so they get stronger at linebacker. McKinley gets signed by the Bills. I did not realize he was only 25 years old. If I would have realized that before, I may have gone after him. Corey Davis also signs with the Bills. So the Bills just get stronger. They also add Jamal Williams at running back. And then Bud Dupree ends up signing with the Ravens. What a perfect fit that is for them. So breaking news, before heading into the draft, the Jets announced that they have moved on from head coach Adam Gase, and in comes Pep Hamilton, who just got done coaching in the XFL and has NFL coaching experience as well. So he will be our new head coach. So now let's preview this draft and look at the top prospects we're looking at here in the first round for the Jets. First is Trevor Banks. He's a very good edge rusher, and he can play the run extremely well. He can stand up and be an outside linebacker. He also can be a 5 technique defensive end. You can play him everywhere. Now, there is a kind of buzz around that he might be going number 1 overall to the Detroit Lions, but you got to think the Detroit Lions could be going after Brett Thompson at quarterback because they need a successor for Matt Stafford. The second guy on our list is Ben Palmer. Now, he is kind of a light version of our top prospect, Trevor Banks, but I really like him. He's an effort guy. He can get after you with all the effort. Look at this play here. Gets after the Clemson quarterback, chases him down, and eventually just runs him down. I mean, that's the type of effort level that we're looking for from our defense because I got to be honest, our pass rush was very lackluster. So getting anybody that can show the effort to get after the passer, we'll take. Now, another guy I want to look at that was in this game is Brad Matthews, number 59, coming around the edge. Now, he is kind of a sack artist. He does what he wants against left tackles. And he has a spin move. He has a swim move. He has everything. He can even bull rush a little bit. Now, he's a little lighter than the other guys. I would say he's more of a speed type of rusher. And he might need to add a little strength, but that's okay because I think that we can develop him if he's available at the number 7 pick. Now, the next guy on our list is David Allen. He's a man-to-man cover corner out of Tulane. Now, one thing about him is that he is not good in zone. So, honestly, what I looked for last year was a guy that could play man, and we did not have that on our roster. But David Allen has that. Now, I don't know how long he'll be on the board, but he's a good corner, and I think that maybe at our second first-round pick, he will be available. But who I'm really looking at that pick, if he's available, is Alex Hopkins. We've been scouting him all season long. He is a safety out of Temple. He can guard pretty well. He's a good box safety, and also, you know, he can do everything. Rush the passer. He kind of reminds me of the Honey Badger a little bit. Do a little bit of everything. We'll have to see if he's available at pick number 20, which we found out that's what the Seahawks ended up having. Now, the top receiver in the nation is Juan McCain. He won all kinds of awards at Oklahoma, and honestly, he could go early in the draft, maybe even top 10. But I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at receiver Sammy Street, a 6'4" red zone threat. And here he is getting a catch over David Allen, and that's what he does. He takes advantage of those size mismatches, and he will go up and get it in traffic. Now, I'm looking for him probably in the second round, and I will see if he does last on the board that long. But here are our picks in this draft. We have pick number 7 and number 20 in the first. We have a second, 2 thirds, 2 fifths, a 6, and a 7. So the number 1 pick is owned by the Detroit Lions, and you got to think they're either going Brent Thompson or Trevor Banks, the top 2 prospects in this draft. And let's just look at the first round prospects, and you can see Alex Hopkins is there at number 12. Dan Settle is at number 15 with Juan McCain right behind him. And then Marlon Yarbrough sits there at 23 projected, and then David Allen is at number 27. So if David Allen lasts and our guy Hopkins is off the board, we could go cornerback. So what will the Lions do with the first pick? I'm guessing Brent Thompson, and they go Trevor Banks. So they bank on Matthew Stafford at quarterback, and they end up getting their future pass rusher in Trevor Banks. I was hoping that Banks would be on the board because if he stayed on the board till pick number 3, I would have traded up. And there is Brent Thompson. He goes off the board to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have their quarterback of the future. So Ben Palmer goes number 5 to the Colts. So our top 2 guys are already off the board. And then the Dolphins end up selecting a pass rusher with the number 2 pick and Jonathan Hilton, a left tackle, with their 2nd pick. So we're on the clock here at number 7. Now, we consider Alex Hopkins here, but he looks like he's, I don't know. It doesn't look like defensive backs are really going off the board early, and I could see a run on maybe offensive linemen or even quarterbacks here. How about Javon Warren at middle linebacker? But we don't really need him. We have CJ Mosley coming back, but he's an interesting guy. He can go any time off the board in the next couple of picks. But then there's Brad Matthews, who's projected as a late first round, but he is an early first round talent. Now, looking at him, he absolutely destroyed the combine. The best vert, the best broad jump, and the best 40 out of right outside linebackers. He is going to be really athletic coming in. David Allen is still on the board, and man, did he have a combine. The 3rd fastest 40, the best vertical jump, and he's the 2nd strongest cornerback. But Brad Matthews on the board, that athleticism rushing the passer, it was a huge need for us, and we signed 2 cornerbacks. So we're going Brad Matthews at number 7, and it was a good pick. He was actually number 8 in true value. His skin is actually wrong. He's supposed to actually be light skin black, so I will change that. But he is athletic. 85 speed, 80 finesse moves. The block shed is really low right now at 68, but good tackler, decent hit power. I like it. Acceleration and pursuit are good. I think this is a very good first pick to get our pass rusher of the future. We passed on Bud Dupree in free agency, and now we get a guy that's only 4 points below him. Pat Perez goes to the Chicago Bears, and Dan Settle goes at number 11 to the Washington football team. Mark Mitchell is the 2nd best receiver in this draft. He goes to the Falcons. And Javon Warren from the St. Louis State Rivercats dynasty goes and replaces Luke Kuechly in Carolina. Now we're at pick number 20, and the pick before us was David Allen. So that means one guy that we've been looking at all season long, we've been scouting him, sending scouts out there, Alex Hopkins is there. Now, he is interesting. He is a late first round talent, and there is a guy that really just blew away the combine, Matt Marion. He's actually a year younger, a little heftier too, but a lot faster and stronger. But I got to stick to my gut here and look back at Alex Hopkins. We've seen what he can do on film, and we've been scouting him. And wow, what Marion did at the combine was unreal. So we had to kind of weigh all of our options. Austin Allen is a left guard, and we do have a huge need at guard. So then we look at Peter Weeks, another guard, and he actually is a projected 5th rounder, but a mid-second round talent. So I don't want another team to scoop him up after our pick here. So I highly consider this. He's 21 years old and a great pass blocker. But I cannot pass on Alex Hopkins. We've been going all in on him, and we draft him at pick number 20, and he is hidden dev trait, 74 overall. Wow. I think we got a little lucky here. Marion absolutely was a beast at the combine, and I'm interested to seeing how good he's going to be. But Hopkins was a pretty good pick. 85 speed isn't bad. Good zone. Actually, it needs to be worked on a little bit, but tackling is decent, and especially with that hidden dev trait, who knows what that's going to be. So Matt Marion actually goes to the Cowboys, so they have a great safety in that. And then Marlon Yarbrough is going to the Tampa Bay Bucks, and yes, he gets to play with Tom Brady at age 44. Brady does not retire, and look at this receiving core. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Marlon Yarbrough. That's going to be dangerous. Cameron Watkins is the 2nd round pick for the Dolphins. They have 2 second rounders as well as 2 first rounders. He was actually a subscriber recruit for us. Jimmy Craig from the Whitetails dynasty goes and plays with Brent Thompson. So remember him from the Whitetails dynasty? He ends up going to them. And then Nakia Watson from the Whitetails, he was a running back for the Badgers. He goes on the next pick. So now we get to our pick once again here in the second round, and I'm thinking about Sammy Street. The one reason why I'm so enamored with him is because he's 20 years old. I mean, we have a lot of his prime to develop. I look at other guys around and I see Tariq Macklin, a guy that I discovered as a late 4th round projection, but a late 1st round talent. 1st in speed, 1st in bench press, 1st in all agility drills. I mean, this guy is an athletic freak. I highly consider him at this pick, but we did not sign an offensive lineman besides Alex Mack in the offseason. So I need to go offensive guard here. It's a huge need, a very, very big hole right now in our offense. So Peter Weeks looks like he might be the pick here, and we go with him, and he ends up being 71 overall. We're actually doing pretty good as far as true value. He's number 43. We drafted him. Number 39, we drafted him at 43. And actually it's the opposite way around, but he ends up being a good pass blocker, but terrible run blocker. That kind of scares me a little bit because that's the reason why I did not like our left guards on the roster now, because they were so bad at blocking for the run. But I think he's a young guy we can develop. We'll have to see. Lewis Smith goes to the Lions. So the Lions actually draft a pass rusher, number 1, draft Lewis Smith in the 3rd round, at the top of the 3rd round. And he ends up only being 61 overall. They may have made a mistake there passing up on a franchise quarterback, but they also got a perennial pass rusher for their future as well. So now we move on to our next pick, and Sammy Street is still on the board in the 3rd. He was supposed to be a mid-second rounder. I'm going to select him here in the 3rd, and he ends up being 69 overall, normal dev, nothing to be excited about there. He's pretty good at spectacular catch, 87, good jumping, decent release, good catching. So I think I need to develop his route running. He definitely does not run routes as well as other receivers would, but that's what we got. We got a red zone type of receiver. Christian Myers, another member, subscriber, recruit. He ends up going to the Falcons in the 3rd round. And now here we are at our second 3rd round pick. I consider doubling down on pass rusher here, and we look at Doug Murphy. He's 21 years old out of BYU, a very strong pass rusher, but his top 3 skills don't include power moves or finesse moves, so that kind of scares me a little bit. We look at Elgin Lloyd, and Elgin Lloyd is coming over from the Whitetails as well, and he is really good in zone, but that's the issue we had last year. We had good zone guys, terrible man cover corners. But I look back on the board and look who's still there. Tariq Macklin. He's a projected late 4th. I can reach on him in the 3rd round because he's a late 1st round talent. And why not get him? Because Christopher Herndon is going to be a free agent after next season. So I need somebody just in case. And he ends up being hidden dev. 74 overall, the number 24 true talent. We drafted him at the 84th pick in the draft, 60 picks ahead of what we drafted him at. That is just incredible. He's incredibly athletic. He can catch the ball well. His pass blocking and run blocking are definitely going to need some work, but he is an athletic guy. And just think about this right now. He's only 1 point lower than Christopher Herndon is at the current moment. We need to figure out if we're going to pay Christopher Herndon as well. Look at this. Adam Miller gets drafted in the 3rd round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they have their future at quarterback possibly behind Tom Brady. Leon Christopher also goes to the Cowboys as we move on to the 5th round. And here, I'm really just trying to get guys for depth. And I don't really have really high expectations for anybody drafted in the 5th round or later. But I see Jacoby Beck on the board here. He is 5'11", 22 years old, A+ deep route. Now that really makes me excited because I need a guy that can really stretch the defense and not just be an underneath guy. Denzel Mims is that guy. He can go deep, but he's a bigger receiver. I want kind of a guy that can just zoom right past the offense. His 40 is 4.45, but the deep route really is a good one here. And we end up getting another good pick. Number 42 in true talent, 92 speed. Wow, this must have been a fast draft. He was like number 15 in the 40 and he's 92 speed. This must have been a blazing fast draft. 90 deep route. That is incredible. And his change of direction is 83. I'm hoping that actually I can put him at returner now because I don't want Ashton Davis back there. We saw in the last game versus the Patriots that he can't hold on to the ball. So with our next pick in the 5th, we decided to go after George Caver. He's kind of just a depth guy. We drafted a strong safety earlier, and we did not have any strong safeties on the roster, so we doubled down on strong safety, and he looks like a capable backup. He will definitely need to develop, but I like that pick just as a backup safety. And then we move on to the 6th round, and we decide to trade out, and we actually get a 4th rounder for next season. So actually, that's our first trade of the offseason. We actually end up moving up in next year's draft. And then here in the 7th round, I decide to go after one of our former Rivercats, Adrian West. I actually picked him over Phoenix Frazier here because I kind of wanted a development receiver. And he ends up being, not too bad. 63 overall is low, but 99 acceleration, change of direction to 83. Maybe we can develop something there. You never know. He can maybe be a little slot guy. And that will conclude the draft. Let's just take a look at the top picks. Trevor Banks is a hidden dev trait, 79 overall pass rusher. He is a monster. 84 power moves. His finesse moves will probably be at 80 by the end of the season. He is an absolute beast. Now with the number 2 pick, our rival, the Miami Dolphins, go with Terrence Kitchens. He's not as good as Trevor Banks, but he's pretty capable. Good power moves and good finesse moves to start out as a rookie. He's only normal dev, though. So I'm wondering if they're regretting not drafting Brent Thompson. Actually, the Lions drafting Brent Thompson. But here he is at number 3. To the Jaguars, I mean, this is a really good pick for them. 76 overall. He's hidden dev as well. And then the Colts select Ben Palmer, who we highlighted as one of our top guys. He ends up being normal dev, but pretty good. Pat Perez from Missouri Tech ends up being 74 overall, going to the Chicago Bears. A good pick by them. Dan Settle is also hidden dev. This quarterback class, very top heavy with the top 3 quarterbacks. They all end up being hidden dev. David Allen, who we definitely contemplated in the 1st round. We passed over him with our first pick and ended up going with our own guy. But he ends up not even being a B-man cover guy. He ends up being 76. Marlon Yarbrough for the Tampa Bay Bucks. This is his first look in the Bucks uniform. He ends up being hidden dev as well. You got to figure that he is going to be a bright guy for that future in the receiving core for the Bucks. Cameron Watkins goes to the Dolphins, and this was a guy that was a member subscriber recruit, and he ends up being pretty good as a rookie, 75 overall. Andre Booker goes to the Washington football team. Juan McCain, who overshadowed Sammy Street at Oklahoma, he ends up being 73, maybe not as good as what the scouts thought, but he's pretty good. Spectacular catch at 86, catching traffic at 86 as well, and has good speed. Javon Warren, he ends up being 73 overall. Good speed, good tackling, good block shedding, good pursuit. He's going to be pretty good in the middle of that Panthers defense. He's also hidden dev trait. And then we move on to our undrafted guys. We do sign a couple of undrafted guys. We did not go after quarterback in the draft. I had plans to go after Phoenix Frazier, but ended up not pulling the trigger. We signed a undrafted guy out of William & Mary. We end up signing Gerard Edwards, a right end, and he will just add to the depth of our team. And then after all of this, we go ahead and sign another cornerback in Jimmy Smith. I don't know if he will start, but he actually has the skills to start. So if we really need him to start, we can eventually do it. So that will do it here for the offseason. That was a blur, honestly. I like the moves that we made. We did not make any unrealistic stuff and also added a lot of talent under new head coach, Pep Hamilton. This is going to be a fun season here in season 2. What can these rookies do? I am excited for these guys. So hit subscribe, hit that like button. I'm excited for season 2. It should be coming up soon, so stay tuned. Let's get it. Let's go.
Yeah, they filling out these job applications. Life got hard after high school graduation. I went to college and your boy got financial aid. They gave me money, then I went and bought a pair of J's. And I bought a pair of shades. And I bought a new computer. Had $400 left, spent the rest on